Hello and welcome to episode 130 of the Wisdom from the Akasha podcast. My name is Suzie, I am your host, and I am an Akashic Records teacher and practitioner. Today I wanted to do a little bit of a fun episode, and this is because I'm rewatching one of these shows with my son at the moment. So this is going to be 5 movies or TV shows that I'd recommend to everyone on their spiritual journey. Now, I did an episode like this, and I'll pop a link into the show notes about 5 books that I'd recommend to everybody. I actually find it quite hard with books because it really depends upon what it is you're looking to gain from a book in respect of what I'd recommend. But I'll pop a link into the show notes. I did pick 5 books that I think are suitable for everyone on their spiritual journey, and today I want to do that with movies or TV shows. Please also feel free, if you get to the end of my 5 recommendations and you think, oh, I've missed this one, please feel free to pop into the show's comments any movies or TV shows that you have found really helpful on your spiritual journey. I always love getting recommendations, and I'm sure lots of other listeners would love to receive them as well. I do know that there's this kind of narrative in the spiritual community, and it's this watching all TV is bad. But as with everything, it's how we use something. It's, are we watching this show because it's just fun and we want to be entertained? Or are we using it as a distraction because actually we know we've got some stuff coming up and we want to numb out? Some movies can be total escapism. Some movies can help you expand your consciousness. It's all about balance. And I, for one, did not sign up for The Life of a Renunciate. I love to go to the cinema. I love to watch a good movie. But that doesn't mean I negate or avoid my spiritual practice. So I appreciate that narrative's going around. If that's your belief, then this probably isn't the podcast episode for you. But if you do like to watch a good movie, a good TV show, here's some that I think will really help you on your spiritual journey and help you to expand your consciousness. Movie number 1 is, of course, The Matrix. And I think this is something that's been talked a lot about by spiritual people. And I know lots of you will have seen that, and it really will start to help you question the structure of your reality. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this one. What I think The Matrix does really well is it blends core ideas and kind of principles of Gnosticism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, and it brings up questions around our free will versus determinism, the power of love, and of course, the wonderful narratives around transhumanism and kind of what starts to happen when we start to really merge with machines. So it's a beautiful depiction. The first movie specifically, 2 and 3 are okay, but the first movie really can be a good help to that. I also, with The Matrix, find really interesting that the point where Neo gets plugged in to go and experience the Matrix is the Alta Major chakra. And traditionally, this chakra is known as the mouth of God. So it's essentially where you're going to receive information from your guides, downloads, things like that at the back of the neck. And I'm going to do a separate episode on the Alta Major chakra because even though traditionally it's seen as one of the minor chakras, I definitely see it more active in people in this day and age, and understanding how to work with it is really going to help you increase your capacity in respect of your internal technology. So I'll do a separate episode on that, but I always find that's an interesting point within The Matrix. Movie number 2 has to be the animated movie Soul. And I actually only watched this one very recently. It's the story of an individual who has this near-death experience, but he doesn't want to go towards the light. So instead, he ends up in this dimension, which from the Akashic Records perspective, we call the transition zone, where new souls are going through some training before they drop into Earth. And it really explores not only the transition zone and kind of what souls are doing in between lives, but it also explores themes such as purpose and just the beauty and magnificence of everyday life. It's a really interesting and really fun look at the boundaries between life and death and what happens to the soul and what the soul is experiencing. So it's a really good, fun, lighthearted take. Movie number 3 is less lighthearted. It's much more kind of serious, probably, I would say, but very good movie, and it's called 9 Days. And it's very worth it. So even though it's not as fun, depending upon what type of mood you're in, if you're in a bit more of an intellectual mood, definitely 9 Days. And what you're doing in 9 days is you're following an individual who we can see as a soul guide. And this soul guide is watching and recording the lives of all the souls that it has been allocated to it. So it's very Akashic Records coded. So the individual has all of these different TV screens, and through those TV screens, they're watching the lifetimes of those souls that they have been allocated to. And in this movie, an opening comes up on Earth, and the person who we're following has to interview these different souls to see who's going to be the right fit for this new lifetime that has come up. So they're interviewing, talking to these different souls who are essentially wanting to go to Earth for this lifetime and have this Earth experience, and this guide is choosing who's going to go. So I really like in this that there is a distinction made between the soul guide who has had an Earth incarnation and one who hasn't. There's two soul guides in this movie. And this is definitely something we see in the Akashic Records, that there are certain guides and energies and beings that you're going to work with who have had Earth incarnations and ones who haven't. And they do have a different take and a different experience in respect of life on Earth. So this one's going to explore themes such as the absolute sacredness of human experience and how souls really want to have human experience. It also looks at whether empathy is a gift or a burden that humans have. And again, its really focus is this beauty and also the difficulties of experiencing a life on Earth. So I would definitely recommend that one. And for those of you who work with the Akashic Records, I think you'll really like watching that one just because it is very Akashic Records coded. Now I want to look at a couple of TV shows, and I know lots of you are going to be expecting me to talk about the OA here. I'm not. Confession time, I haven't actually seen the OA. It's on my to-watch list, and I will get there. But that isn't what I'm going to be talking about. So the first TV show I actually want to talk about is Man in a High Castle. And this is a TV show which is an adaptation of one of my favourite sci-fi authors, so it's Philip K. Dick, and it provides a look into an alternative timeline. So in the alternative timeline, what has happened is the British and the Americans have lost World War II, and America is now split in between Germany and Japan, and then there's this kind of unruled zone in the middle of it. So I've always loved, and still to this day love, watching or reading dystopians, alternative histories, because what I think that the author or the person who makes these shows is doing is actually tuning into different timelines. So I've talked about timelines a lot on this podcast. I won't get into it here today, but I do think that's what consciously or unconsciously people are doing. So I do like to see people's different explorations. Anyway, in A Man in a High Castle, what I think is really interesting in this show is there's this clear presentation of the difference between genuine internal spiritual development, so working with the internal technology and the experience of that, versus the use of and the limitations of external technology. And this is a really important theme, of course, in our current times with everything that is going on. So it's a really good take on that and a really good presentation of that. It also weaves in themes such as authenticity versus illusion, the power of divination, and of course, spiritual sovereignty. So this is a must watch. It is quite long. I think it's 6 series, but it is very worth its time. And the last one is one that I have been rewatching that I mentioned at the start of the episode, and this is The Peripheral. And unfortunately, season 2 of this show got cancelled. So there is only season 1, so you're kind of left in a little bit of a limbo at the end of season 1. But I think, again, it's just a brilliant portrayal of themes like time travel, technology, timelines, and this kind of transcendent nature of consciousness. Also has quite a lot to do with, again, that conversation around free will versus determinism. And it's just a great story. But like I say, unfortunately, you do get left in a little bit of limbo about what's going to happen next, because of how it plays out in respect of the season 2 being cancelled. I'd love to hear if you haven't seen any of these, if you watch them and you love to share your perspective of them. As I said at the start, I'd also love to hear if you have own recommendations, pop them in the comments so other people can watch those as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of a kind of lighthearted episode. I hope you find it useful, and I, of course, will see you next time for the next episode.